WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12682. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Hannegriff.
And we welcome you in. Good afternoon to Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff, Mario Jerez, and Taylor Sharp manning the controls. John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media covering the Saints here in about 15 minutes. Michael Cobble at the bottom of the hour, approximately at the bottom of the hour from WBRZ Channel 2. The NCAA is doing their conference call with the media right now to explain LSU's violations, and we'll see if anything else comes out of that other than what we already know, which is in the last hour, the recruiting violations that occurred within the LSU football program have been ruled upon by the NCAA, and we've got the penalties that are self-imposed mostly on them. Now let me start for if you're just getting this story. This is all it came out this morning. This has nothing to do with LSU basketball. Absolutely nothing. This has nothing to do with Will Wade. This has nothing to do with the IARP. This has nothing to do with any of the violations that were linked to LSU football at a time when it was linked into the basketball program investigation. The NCAA is still trying to prove all of those things were linked. That is currently in what I would call IARP hell. The IARP is the committee when the NCAA that they send infractions to when the NCAA committee can't handle it. It's the committee for the really serious cases, and it's been so effective that as soon as the LSU investigation and 4 other investigations are finished, whenever that is, that committee will be abolished because it has been enormously ineffective, and most of the law, it's been slow. So that was the committee that, they brought Condoleezza Rice in and like, hey, find out how we can do this better. They put together this committee, and to say it's been a colossal cluster mess, it would be an understatement. So that's gonna drag well into 2023. That's not over. The IRP still got the LSU case, they still got the Arizona case, they still got the Kansas case, they still got the Memphis case, they still got I think it's the Louisville case, and then that's it. And then the IRP goes away. This is not that. This involves former offensive line coach James Craig. Craig is accused and now has been penalized for impermissible contact with a recruit. This was during the COVID period in which they were not allowed any kind of contact with the recruits. This involved a recruit named Tristan Lee, who would end up at Clemson as an offensive lineman. He was on a visit here. Among other things, Craig is accused of giving him some gear and showing him and his mother around a neighborhood in case she were to move here, and then coming back and basically saying, I didn't do any of that stuff. So here's what LSU has been given today. They've been given 1 year of probation. This is a very, very, very light probation. They got a $5,000 fine that they self-imposed. They limit the official visits to 55 during the academic year of 2022-2023. Also self-imposed. There's a couple of recruiting prohibitions for 1 week apiece during this academic year. Both of those were self-imposed. They have reduced the number of evaluation days in the program. That actually happened last fall, so that's already been taken care of. The big thing that came out of this was actually for Craig himself. He got a 3-year show cause, which basically means that anybody that wants to hire him has got to tell the NCAA why they want to hire him. I thought that it was awfully peculiar that LSU was fighting James Craig as hard as they were back when they fired him. They owed him originally somewhere in the area of $700,000, which for the LSU athletic department is, they spill that much in, energy drinks. But they fought him tooth and nail on this thing, and they eventually went to court. And I thought, man, why? What's it? Because Craig was accused of basically what they used to call a bump. And a bump was impermissible contact. They used to do this all the time. The NCAA kind of cracked down on it, but it was a bump. Hey, you can't meet with a recruit. Oh, but I bumped into him. Where'd you bump into him? Well, at his high school gym. Oh, okay. Well, so, they tried to get, tried to get a handle on that, And so the bump actually occurred in Craig's neighborhood. Okay. But it's a minor thing, all right? It's shoes, it's shirts, it's, hey, how you doing? Wouldn't you like to live over there? Wouldn't you like to come live at our school? That was fought by LSU the biggest reason was because they were already under investigation in their football program, in their basketball program, and the last thing they wanted to do was have James Craig on top of this. So they fired him, and they fired him for cause because they knew he had done this. Craig decided to fight it. And I couldn't get my mind around why LSU was making such a big stink over $700,000, which turned out to be $500,000. It was like, pay him and send him down the way. Well, now we know why they didn't. Because if you put this on top of anything that's potentially coming out in 2023, then you've got multiple things. And if LSU knew about it and didn't report it, well, if this had happened all by itself, I don't think that Craig gets a show cause. I'm not even sure he gets fired. Okay, bumps happen all the time. But it happened during COVID so they're going to be a little bit more harsh about the non-contact period because it was during COVID. Whether you agree with that or not, it's just fact. The second thing was that Craig decided to fight it. And once Craig decided to fight it and say, no, I didn't do this, well, then LSU had a problem. Now they had to go fight. It really wasn't about the money. I actually had that part right. $700,000, $500,000. Who cares? So the thing went to court, and LSU lost. This happened in August, just about a month ago, and LSU was ordered to pay. He subtracted from the $700,000 some of the salary he got. I think it was the 49ers, and LSU was ordered to pay him just under $500,000, $492,000. And LSU said, "We're appealing," because what the court said was that there was no cause. The actual exact wording was the cause did not exist. And LSU said, oh, yes, it does. And Craig's lawyer said, well, prove it to us. And the judge said, okay, I don't see any cause here. The NCAA hasn't ruled on anything. And LSU said, we're appealing. That was a month ago. Today, LSU just got the biggest shot in the arm that any appeal could ever get. They got the NCAA to come down with a 3-year show cause on James Craig. This is like the end of My Cousin Vinny when it's like, yeah, we found the other green we found the other green car with the murder weapon in it. Okay, so let the kids go. Yeah, okay, now you've got cause. 3-year show cause is a pretty hefty penalty for a bump until you realize it's not really about the bump. It's about I didn't do the bump. Let me give you a couple of examples of a 3-year show cause on a bump. Bruce Pearl, Tennessee, got a 3-year show cause. Why? Well, because he had a barbecue at his house. Not really. The kid went to the barbecue. They probably would have let him go until Bruce Pearl decided to fight it tooth and nail and said, I didn't do that. So they said, all right, now you're lying to us. 3-year show cause, and it cost him his job at Tennessee. Kevin Ollie, head coach at UConn. These are basketball examples, but I think you get where I'm going. Ollie had impermissible assistance on his in excess of practice limits, okay? And also coaches that were giving duties that made them coaches. In other words, he had extra practices and extra coaches on his staff. Again, he fought it. UConn fired him. You know, if he would not have fought it, maybe it doesn't go down as hard. Kevin Stallings was a coach at Vanderbilt, basketball coach at Vanderbilt. He got a 3-year show cause back in 2020 because he had violated the number of coaches on his staff. But more importantly, it was 3 coaches. He had them doing all kind of stuff, and then he had developed a system to where it didn't look like they were working to anybody outside the program. NCAA found out about it, said, you had the 3 coaches. That's bad. You lied about it. Boom. 3-year show cause. That's Craig's biggest issue here, is not really the bump. It was the fighting of the I didn't do anything wrong, period. Now, was LSU not exactly happy? The head coach at the time not exactly happy that LSU lost that offensive line prospect to Clemson? Yes. Is that the reason that they fired him? It didn't help. Okay. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it didn't help. So for LSU, this is really nothing. Okay. All of this is not anything that after we finish the show today, and after we finish talking about this today, we'll see if anything's come out of this conference call when we talk to Cobble here in about 20 minutes. But I'm not expecting anything else. For LSU, this is as nothing as it gets. But it also has nothing to do with Will Wade. I can't make that clear enough. It's like, hey, the NCAA ruled and LSU didn't get anything. This has nothing to do with Will Wade. That is not over. I don't know if LSU is going to get anything for Will Wade, but that is not over. And any of the ties that the football program had on prior things, way prior, that would have made them a repeat offender in the eyes of the IARP, that's not over yet. The Craig thing, I think, essentially is done. They're going to go see that judge, and they're going to say, look at this. He got a 3-year show cause. The judge, I'm guessing, is going to say LSU doesn't have to pay James Craig now, and Craig will probably end up coaching in the NFL or somewhere else because nobody's going to fight this show cause. So you got all that? Questions from the gallery? I'll do my best. Open the floor here. Anyone?
That was very good. Comprehensive.
Yeah.
All good.
All right. I worked on it a long time, almost 20 minutes. I think I got it right. All right, let's talk about the Saints and the Panthers when we come back with John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar.
In the prep football season, and we get started at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic High and St. Thomas More kick off at 7, and that's immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care Lake After Hours Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time, your sports break during your lunch break with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Check out the podcast a little bit later on today. The Hanny Cast, we got a picks coming up for the weekend, a little LSU New Mexico preview as well. I want to bring in now John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media covering the New Orleans Saints. John, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Let's start with Paulson Adebo and Alvin Kamara back at practice this week. So give me your best guess on the readiness of Kamara and Adebo.
Yeah, look, they were limited yesterday, but for Adebo, this is a big step back for him just because we hadn't seen him in about 4 weeks, plus because of the ankle injury he got in training camp. So, look, I think that's an encouraging sign just to start off the injury report being available and to where we could see him. And so Dennis Allen said, look, we're going to have to just kind of wait and see how things go from there. I feel pretty good about his chances for Sunday with Alvin Kamara. He's also limited with that rib injury. The encouraging thing to remember there is that he was actually on the field for pregame warm-ups instead, so I think it could be a more likely to play than Adebo if you have to ask me today, but these next 2 days are definitely going to be really important for him.
Against the Buccaneers, the offense was in neutral for most of the game. For the first 3 quarters against the Falcons, the offense was in neutral. When you look at the potential for this offense, which we saw in the fourth quarter of the Atlanta game, and the other 7 quarters that they've played, where's the disconnect?
Yeah, look, I think it's a little bit of everything. I know we talking to Jameis yesterday, he talked a lot about timing and just making sure he takes better throws and playing from behind, forcing some throws, whereas he had some other options underneath that he should have probably took. That's a part of it too. But I thought the run game was a little bit better, and even though, you look at 6 sacks on the surface, that seems bad, I think the pass protection improved from week 1, and again, you just can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win games. So everything shifted momentum-wise, and Ingram's fumbled that ball at the end. But I felt like this is a game where whoever got to the end zone first is going to win. And so It's unfortunate because the Saints defense gave a Super Bowl effort, but I expect their offense to get more in sync, more in rhythm, and this begs the question, like, okay, well, why didn't we see more in preseason, training camp? These guys are still kind of getting used to doing this and vice versa. So there are some things to work up and clean up, but by week 2 of the season, I don't expect everything to look perfect, but we should see improvement this week in Carolina, but another tough defense they're going to face.
In your opinion, is the broken bones in Jameis Winston's back going to be a long-term problem for him, and do you think it seriously affected his accuracy on Sunday?
No, I thought he had good dip on the ball. I thought he threw pretty well. Again, I think if anything, the only thing that might have hindered him was the scrambling part, the scrambling aspect. I thought there was a couple plays he probably could have picked it up with his legs, and maybe there was a little bit of hesitation because of the back injury. But, everything from my understanding with the injury is that, like you said, it can't get any worse. It's only going to improve by each week. But, look, I thought he had some good dip on the ball. He just got to make better decisions with the football and obviously be a little bit more decisive instead of being impatient. But, again, it's hard because you look at it and say, well, this guy played hurt and all this other stuff. But, look, he talked to us yesterday, and he's not hiding behind that. He knows he's got to get better, and, he's not focusing on the back injury or the ankle injury or anything like that. So we'll see how he responds this week.
Bigger problem for the Saints, lack of a pass rush or lack of pass protection?
I'd say lack of pass protection for sure. I think the pass rush, you can't really judge it on these first 2 games just because the first one, they faced a mobile quarterback, so that's something that they just struggle against, and it's not like they did blitzing. And the same thing with Tom Brady in week 2. You don't blitz Tom Brady, just like you don't blitz Drew Brees. More times than not, that's going to affect you. They did get their first sack, and what I would say for people to really go home to this point is last year they were really struggling in the first part of the season with the pass rush, but by week 6, week 7, that's really when they turned it on. So I'm not worried about the pass rush. I expect them to be a lot more aggressive this week against Baker Mayfield. And then as far as pass protection, it's just got to look better. There's some things in the communication process where I think there's blame to go all around. It's some of it's on Jameis, some of it's on the line, some of it's on the running backs for not picking up blitzes and such. So those calls and that protection have got to be much better in a lot of areas. But, that's something that I think right now you see the focal point of the offense is that's where things have got to improve for this team because they've really only had one quarter where they've looked good on offense.
I realize that it's only one game, but just the optics of how much better 2-1 after 3 division games is going to look rather than 1-2 after 3 division games to open the season for New Orleans makes this a pretty big game on Sunday, in my opinion. The Panthers have been close, but have come up short in both of their first 2 games. How do you see the matchup?
Yeah, look, it's super important because division games count as double, right? And so there's a lot at stake to get to 2-1, so you can kind of enjoy some of the stuff that London's going to bring for you. You're going to have a tough Vikings team right behind them, but obviously Kirk Cousins struggled a good bit against the Eagles, but you have Justin Jefferson, Thielen, all those guys, Dalvin Cook that you have to worry about, so they're no strangers to playing each other. But look, I expect this to be a pretty hard-fought matchup. I mean, we could throw out last year's Week 2 game against Carolina. I mean, that was just a bad showing just because of the COVID and all this other stuff. They were down a bunch of players. So I don't think it'll be like that by any means. But the key here is the offense has got to put together a couple of good early drives, get points up on the board, and I'd rather have touchdowns than field goals for sure. That's going to help build their confidence, and then you rest on that defense to kind of shut Baker Mayfield down. Now, obviously, Christian McCaffrey is going to be a huge focal point. But look, Saints are favored in this game. I expect them to win this game. I just think this team is way too talented and way too healthy and has way too much ability inside of themselves to lay over and lose again. They have great coaching, and they're not a team to sit down on each other either. So, look, I think it'll come together, and this is a team who's always hit a midseason stride. They've lost Week 2 game 4 straight years now, and so how they respond here is everything, and it'll tell us a lot about this team.
John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media is our guest. John, being around the team this week, what was the reaction internally, as best you can tell, to the one-game suspension of Mike Evans. They think it was, or the Bucs obviously thought that this was too little or too much. There are a lot of people, including myself, that thought it was not nearly enough. Plus the allegations that the Saints didn't give Bruce Arians anywhere to sit, which is pretty silly in my opinion. But give me your thoughts on the reaction inside the organization.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. This is a guy who's become notorious for doing those types of sucker punches and things when he gets a chance. And so, again, you can't have that, because what if Lattimore had gotten hurt from it? Then it would have been way worse, right? And that's the encouraging thing, is that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But, look, between that and the whole Bruce Arians thing, and then the Bucs saying, oh, I didn't know or anything, and then clearly they, in the press box, they had room for him, so they chose not to sit there. And for the Saints, every time we go to a road game, they're sitting right behind us in the media. So, I mean, it's not like they're on the field doing all that kind of stuff, too. It'd be like Sean Payton being on the sidelines and having an active role. It just doesn't make sense. And so they got the warning letter, which is more like a slap on the wrist, I guess, if you will. But really bizarre how this has kind of unfolded. And, of course, being Lattimore and Evans, a familiar face-off between each other. And look, I'm ready for December 5th when those two, face off again on Monday Night Football. But, look, I think everybody's past it. Obviously, the bigger thing is that they lost the game that they could have won. And, they're worried about trying to get back and doing what they could, because that officiating crew really struggled on both sides Sunday.
Might be a little chippy in the rematch. I'm just guessing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I don't disagree there. I think it's going to be another hard-fought slugfest. And look, for me, I'm hoping Jameis gets a chance to play again in front of Tampa to kind of exercise some of those demons.
John Hendricks from Boot Crew Media, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today. We'll look forward to Saints and Panthers on Sunday. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Just when I thought the Mike Evans thing couldn't get any more ridiculous, the enforcement committee, I'm going to call them that. They've got a fancier name, but this is run by some former NFL players, one of which is John Runyon, who was a longtime offensive lineman, played at Michigan. Runyon was the one who put the ruling out on Evans and talked about why. And we read that earlier in the week, and it was, all right, this is a little bit short of what I thought, but hey, whatever. John Runyon's son plays for the Green Bay Packers. This week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play the Green Bay Packers. And so it came out that Tampa thought this was a conspiracy against Mike Evans to suspend him for the game against the Green Bay Packers because John Runyon, who's on the enforcement committee, has a son that plays for the Packers. I'm sure you're right. Somewhere, the Buccaneers said, we can send Mike Evans out to cheap shot Marshawn Lattimore, and we don't have to worry about him getting suspended because John Runyon's kid plays for the Packers. I mean, this is right up there with the Martians are the ones that really assassinated Kennedy. Really? Anyway. All right, Michael Cobb will listen to the NCAA's explanation of the penalties against LSU. We'll see if there's anything new to add. We'll also talk to Michael about LSU and New Mexico. That is next. You listen to Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura of Baton Rouge. The entire fleet over the last several years has undergone a complete makeover. And right now, the 2023 Integras, they're back. They're coming with a complete overhaul. The all-new MDX S-Type, the Type S Advance, turbocharged V6, the massaging seats, new color combinations, and all. Hey, listen, the all-new body styles, they started 2021 with the TLX and the TLX Type S, the 22 MDXs, the RDX in 2022, and now the 2023 Integra, the newest and greatest technology and styling. I buy my vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge because I know I'm going to get tremendous service. I know I'm going to get transparency in pricing, and they're going to treat me like family. They've been doing that for going on 20 years now, and they can do it for you. Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Miller Lite has more taste and only one more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop.
This is Hanny Time. Grab some lunch and tune in on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Michael Cobble from WBRZ Channel 2 joins us right now. If you're joining us late, the recruiting violations that come down for LSU come with very, very minor penalties for the school, but a pretty major one for the coach. Michael, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Charlie. Good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm great. Okay, so just to recap, if people just joining us, LSU's on a 1-year probation based on recruiting violations committed by former offensive line coach James Craig, which largely involves contact and a non-contact period. The penalties for LSU are all very small. Official visits for football are slightly decreased, a very small fine, a very small reduction in evaluation periods and communication with recruits during the academic year. And the penalty for Craig was a 3-year show cause, which is pretty significant. Michael, the NCAA spent the last 15, 20 minutes or so explaining this. What else can you add to what they released right before the call?
Well, I wish they had spent that long explaining it or talking about it. It was much more brief than that. Wilson Alexander and myself, the only two people there that asked questions, and basically the guy just read the report. So nothing new other than that this finding does not necessarily impact the independent review process that's going on with the larger issues surrounding Will Wade. It is not in concert with nor complementary towards or harmful in their overall findings. According to one of the investigators, they all operate independently of one another. So I think that's probably the only thing of note regarding this. As you alluded to, most everything's kind of already a time served situation for LSU. The official visit knockdown was 1.
Yeah.
I tried to find out how many they're allowed. They're allowed 56.
Mm-hmm.
They got knocked down to 55. So, again,
how will the program ever survive?
Yeah, $5,000. Where they'll be shaking cans on the corner of Nicholson at
Yeah.
this next game.
You know, this is so much more significant for Craig, and now again we have real clarity as to why LSU fought him so hard on what was. Look, $500,000 is a lot of money to just about anybody, but LSU's athletic department budget is somewhere in the vicinity of $150 million this year. But they fought it tooth and nail, and now we know why, because Craig was not going to cop to these violations, and LSU didn't want something else to deal with because the Wade thing is still out there.
Let me jump in there, and because of what I'm going to tell you next, in the findings, the compliance department, this is all surrounding when the mother, I believe it's Tristan Lee, organized, for an impromptu visit for a number of kids during COVID. There were 14 of them on campus. I remember covering it. I remember trying to go out there and find them walking around, etc. And so this all stems around that. Well, compliance had they knew the kids were coming, so they had met with the coaching staff and had told them in advance, you are not allowed to contact them, you're not allowed to visit with them, you're not allowed to see them in person, etc. And so Craig did that kind of, however roundabout way, whether it would be, in this case, giving tours of a neighborhood where his mom might eventually live, and giving tours of Tiger Stadium, and giving out bags full of used LSU equipment, right? So those are the violations that he stemmed from. And then he admitted to doing such. And so this is the latest, Charlie, that you guys probably don't have yet. We contacted LSU. LSU responded through Ernie Ballard, the Office of Communications and University Relations, responded, and I'll read it to you. Yes, we will pursue all legal options available to us, including appealing. Today's NCAA decision affirms LSU's response to the allegations arising out of Coach Craig's conduct. Coach Craig admitted under oath that he contacted and provided athletic gear to a recruit after being warned by compliance staff of the COVID-based no contact period with recruits. This type of intentional knowing and conduct was charged as a level 2 violation. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
The university was given credit for responding promptly, and basically we believe this decision firmly supports the hard work of our athletic compliance staff decision regarding this coach. So, they are all in on their side of the equation, and they're likely going to get their $500,000 back.
Yeah, I don't think they ever paid it. This
Right.
ruling came down like a month ago. They were going to appeal anyway, even if the NCAA hadn't issued this ruling. Michael, you said you tried to find these guys when they were here. I maintain that one of the biggest problems with this is it was the COVID period. This is a recruiting bump, man. This stuff happens all the time. If this doesn't happen during COVID and Craig doesn't put up such a fight about it in court, nothing. As little as came of it today for LSU, nothing comes of it if this happens in a non-COVID year.
I agree. It is. I think it's because they got the goods, right? And again, as we all kind of know, whenever nothing happens to you necessarily if you don't cooperate with the NCAA, it's such a long, drawn-out process. I think, they got this one wrapped up because basically Craig admitted he did the wrongdoing. LSU helped facilitate, the information the NCAA needed, and they acted quickly on it. So, no, this is a big fat nothing burger right now, and it might be a nothing burger because the way LSU handled it, and to your point, it may have been a nothing burger, in a regular year.
If Tristan Lee had never migrated over to Clemson, this might not have happened, but I digress. On the Wade thing, and I don't know if you've got anything new. I don't think anybody has anything new. I'll just ask you your opinion on this. My thought is that this is going to drag well into 2023, and that the IARP is among the most inefficient committees ever put together by the NCAA, which is saying something. You got any feel for when they might know something on that?
No. I mean, the interesting thing, it could be as early as February, but the interesting thing there is with so much moving and shaking regarding infractions and the way they're going to be handled in the future in the NCAA, does LSU actually get caught up in the wash and some of this get absolved? It'd be interesting to see, how much teeth the NCAA wants to put into its last hurrah, I guess I will say. And they may need to, as long as this thing is drug out and as publicly as it's drug out. And I'm sure, 40 and Armour and everyone else will start banging the drum if nothing happens. So, I feel like there's a very, very interesting scenario where this could just get absolved with some of the NCAA's power being absolved in the near future when they move to different governance structures. And that's something that's already being discussed right now. So, does it all coalesce at the same time? I don't know, but there's possibility.
Well, what the football committee said, what was it, late last week, early this week? No, it was last week. We don't want the NCAA to go away completely. We need a governing body. What we would like is a little bit more say-so and a little bit more expedient, a little bit more speed in resolving some of these things. They don't need to drag on this long. My opinion on the Wade thing is that LSU's going to get something. They're not going to go on this long and just say, oh, well, you know what, you guys didn't do anything. But they could get something that amounts to a souped-up version of what they got here, which is a lot of recruiting restrictions that nobody, that watches basketball will ever know about, a small fine. What the NCAA really wanted out of the basketball program was for LSU to fire Will Wade, which they did as soon as they got the letter of infractions, which allowed them to fire him for cause. I mean, they did it the very next day. I think the NCAA wanted a pound of flesh out of Will Wade a lot more than they wanted it out of LSU, fair or not. But that's my impression of it right now. They're not going to skate completely. They're going to get, hey, send us another $5,000 check, stay off the phone next Tuesday, that kind of thing. But the rest of it, they got their guy, but they're going to drag this thing out. February is, that's what I like about you, Cobble. You're so optimistic, man. I'm saying June. I'm just going June.
I just feel like they've got the goods. They're not going to get any more goods than they already have.
It's done. The guy's gone. The horse, the equine has expired. I mean, please.
It's been bludgeoned to death.
Yes.
No doubt. So,
hey, quick thought before we let you go on LSU, New Mexico. LSU, a massive favorite, but look into what are you?
What is it climbing to now?
Yeah. What do you build towards here?
To me, it is just that, building on last week. Do everything that you did last week, just do it quicker. Right? The offense has to come out, and I don't. Tempo is the word we use, but it's not the right word. They just need to have some kind of rhythm, some kind of fluidity to their offense. And it needs to maybe a sense of urgency, like they've said in the past. But they have to find something that works early. It's stupid to keep taking the ball if you're just going to turn it over on downs. So find something that works there. Defensively, build upon what you did. Get some guys some reps. I think that's important to build depth. And then the special teams, just clean it up. It's too sloppy at this high of a level for that to continue to happen. So you really have to have zero errors in that regard this coming week against an inferior opponent, because eventually those teams, they're going to make you pay further down the schedule.
Appreciate it, Michael. WBRZ Channel 2. We'll see you at the game.
Thanks, Charlie. Take care.
Thanks a lot. And we will take a break. We'll take your questions in the YouTube chat when we come back. I may even have Hunt give us an update from the President's Cup. He's loitering in my control room watching golf. So the Americans winning? No, the Americans are not winning. The Americans are heavy favorites, but the Americans right now are not winning. All right, we'll do that when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's, part of the very fabric of Denham Springs. Big Mike's Sports Bar and Grill. Your whole football weekend can be around Big Mike's. If you're going to high school football tomorrow night, they're always open late on Fridays. You can bring the family into the restaurant, get some food after the games are over with. Live music, Kyle Wilson, tonight, at Big Mike's. Tomorrow it's Clifton Brown, and Saturday Clarence is DJing for the game, LSU and New Mexico. Of course, they got football on all day long. And then the Saints on Sunday. Happy hour prices all day on Sunday. Big NFL fans over there. So you get happy hour drink prices, which normally are from 3 to 7 Monday through Saturday, but all day on Sunday. And next week, a week from this Sunday, October the 2nd, the Saints against the Vikings. That is in London. Big Mike's is opening up at 8 a.m. Bloody Marys, bottomless mimosas. Happy hour all day, chicken and waffles, and a breakfast burger on the menu as well for Saints and the Vikings. Big Mike's in Denham Spring on Aspen. At Big Mike's, kind of a big deal.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out NewOrleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
I am Juliette, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis, but I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Join us for a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Luke Johnson from The Advocate covering the Saints and Ellis Williams covering the Panthers, getting you ready for Black and Gold and Carolina. Hunt and Hill, 1 to 3 weekdays on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny time. Grab some lunch and tune in on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Your questions in the YouTube chat. No, I do not know where Pat 40 is right now or what he's doing. I've got other things to think about. Question about the IARP. Yes, it will be dissolved. The Committee on Infractions, upgraded version. The IRP's they've got 5 cases left. It's LSU, Arizona, Louisville, Kansas, and Memphis. Once those are done, then so is the IARP. Ask Hanny why when is it time to start the redheaded quarterback? Or why isn't the redheaded quarterback going to start? I think that the reason why the redheaded quarterback, Andy Dalton, is not starting is if you put Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston side by side, Jameis Winston at his best is better than Andy Dalton at his best. That's why he's a starting quarterback. But when do you start the redheaded quarterback? If you decide at some point that Jameis Winston is not capable, if it's the back or if it's something else that is not capable of making the throws right now, and frankly, some of the throws that scared me the most on Sunday were the ones where he was protected. And just didn't deliver the throw. These weren't like necessarily throws. The throws into coverage, all right, I get a little bit of that. It's the ones where he was protected and had an open guy and missed him. Those are the throws that Winston kind of usually makes. So when he can't make that throw and you decide it's because of some physical ailment, then it's time to start. Then it's time to start the other guy. Ask Hanny, why did DiNardo not succeed at LSU? Was he a bad recruiter? Actually, Jerry DiNardo was not a bad recruiter. Jerry DiNardo ran into a couple of problems. Number one, some of the guys he recruited ran into academic issues. His 96 class, I think in particular, maybe it was a 97, they run together, was a very, very highly rated class, of which they lost probably 5 or 6 guys before they ever played, and most of them were due to academics. They had a kid here named Darian Yates. He was a USA Today All-American, like a 6'6", maybe even 6'7" defensive lineman. This guy was going to be the next Ted Hendricks, and he got to LSU. He went through the entire fall camp, and like 2 days before school started, they told him that he was ineligible, and he ended up transferring out. I think he played basketball maybe at UTEP or something like that. There were cases like that where he went out and got really, really good players that ran into academic or legal problems. Cecil Collins, was another one. Now, that wasn't academic. That was other stuff. So, no, he actually recruited pretty well. He had some problems getting kids in, and then he made some staffing issues. He had some staffing problems at the end. But, no, I didn't think he was a bad recruiter at all. He was actually a very enthusiastic recruiter. The Kevin Falk story gets a lot of play. Let's see. Ask the Napier thing is played. Ask Hanny, can Shane Beamer keep his job going 7-5 every year? Is that not enough? You can't go 7-5 every year at South Carolina, but this is his second year, so I don't think the clock's ticking on Shane Beamer just yet. Let's see. Ask Hanny, who's the biggest loss due to an NCAA violation of the at LSU, and why is it Akeem Hicks? Okay, who was the lineman that went to Oklahoma? I'm trying to think of. He played in a. Oh man, come on. LSU had they got him committed. He played for the Vikings. Phil Lodeholt. Lodeholt played in the NFL for a little while. He wasn't as good as Akeem Hicks, but he was pretty good. He was another one that I remember that wasn't an NCAA violation. That was more of an academic thing. I got a question. I want to ask a question to the group here in the room and to the chat as well. What kind of romantic consensual relationship rises to the level of a year-long suspension but does not rise to the level of a firing? I'm talking about Emi Udoka, the head coach of the Celtics, who, according to Woj, is facing a suspension for the entire season for an intimate but consensual relationship. This is not a crime. This is more like a violation of inter-office policy. You're not allowed to date other employees, which is problematic in itself. They've decided that he did something so bad that he should be suspended for the whole year but not fired. I'm really struggling with how a relationship could fall into that particular category. You're going to suspend this guy a year because he's dating somebody in the office. Completely consensual, at least according to the report. Wasn't there, don't know. But it's not to the level of fire. I mean, you are willing to go through a year with a lame duck coach and a potential championship team, but you're not going to fire him. This one's bizarre. I mean, you want to talk about some neutral ground. Sean Payton, when he was suspended for the year, was suspended over things that the Saints never really believed that he was in violation of, and that were largely pawned off on the defensive coordinator, but he took his year suspension. The Saints decided that he was a good enough coach that he was worth the year suspension, and the year was lousy, But at least I say, Udoka is a very good coach, or at least from what we've seen. Last year he did a tremendous job. It was his first year. The Celtics were kind of buried in January, but after he got a real good handle on it, they were as hot a team as anybody from January through the end of the season. So I understand the Celtics wanting to keep him. What I don't understand is, was this that serious? A consensual relationship. A non-consensual relationship is a whole different kettle of fish. A consensual relationship and a 1-year suspension puts your franchise in limbo because he's dating a coworker. This doesn't even sound right.
Yeah, there's information still coming out. Apparently, it might have been somebody's wife who was his boss at the Celtics, which might complicate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
Oh.
Yeah.
Heating up a little bit.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, people in the chat are kind of implying it. Like I said, there's still information coming out, but that could be part of it.
You date somebody from sales? Okay.
Yeah.
You date the boss's wife? Yeah.
A little different.
Dating the boss's wife will probably get you fired most places. Just saying. Well, good. Asked and answered. Okay. I mean, at least that's plausible. Things have to make sense to me, okay? It makes more sense to me. Hunt and Hill is next. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $15,000